Hello there and welcome to News Central now. Here on News Central Television, let's take a look at the top stories for this hour. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara condemns attack on local government facilities. Kenya's embattled Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua dismisses corruption allegations. And in Tunisia, incumbent President Kais Saied secures re-election with 90.7% of the vote. Stay with us to get the details here shortly. I'm Joe Hanson. Let's begin with update on political crisis in River State. Violence, burning of local government secretariat complexes, including sporadic gunshots, marked the assumption of offices and swearing in of chairmen and councillors in some LGAs of River State on Monday. The 23 secretariat complexes had been barricaded by the Nigerian police force for 3 months, following the ongoing political crisis in the state until the State Police Command withdrew its officers. News Central correspondent Austin Azu, who is monitoring the development in the state, brings us details.
After the swearing-in of council chairman by the River State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, the council chairman would in turn swear in the councillors-elect and vice chairman in their respective LGAs. Though the ceremony was quite peaceful in Port Harcourt City LGA, but took a different tone in Eleme, Emoha, Oyigbo, and other LGAs, where secretariats were set ablaze by suspected hoodlums, leaving many people with varied degrees of injuries. At Obiakpo local government area, where the FCT minister Yeso Wike hails from, immediately after the inauguration of the 10th legislative arm of the council, sporadic gunshots rented the air as every scupper for safety. After a few hours, when no mercy perceived to have returned to the council secretariats, News Central News Crew, however, seeks to examine the level of damage during the crossfire.
All right, as you can see, normalcy has returned to the council secretariat, and like you witnessed earlier, the councillors have been sworn in. We have elected our principal officers, and work has resumed.
You can see, you see that here is normal, peaceful. Yes, some hoodlums came here and they were shooting, but God being on our side, they ran away.
All official duties by tomorrow resumes, and nothing, nobody, no human being, nothing created by God can end it except God. So nobody anywhere should think that this gate can be closed by anybody. And if such people attempt to come close to this gate, we are going to get them alive. We will get them alive.
Speaking with newsmen, chairman of Obiakpo Local Government Council, who expressed displeasure in an attempt to raise down the secretariat complex, said he would leave no stone unturned to ensure he protects the council property and staff. The council boss thereafter renamed the admin block from Yeso Wike to Ibilawe House, even as he called on President Bola Tinubu to sack the FCT minister.
I am telling the IG of police that if any building here go down, businesses that they own university will go down. And I'm ready to go to prison for that. Because you cannot come and destroy the structure of our forefathers. You have done your 3 for 8. Allow people to rule their own tenure. You can't be up and down and nobody can be God. Wike is not God. Yes. And let me advise him, those who are pushing him are also killing him. They are beating him and clapping hands. With the likes of those who are calling them rivers a judge, this one, that. Wike should be advised to go and arrest. Because for this fight, it's going to be. But anybody who comes to shoot gun here, destroy anything here, there will be problem for that person. And let me also call on Mr. President that Wike, he should immediately sack Wike because Wike is threatening democracy in Nigeria.
As one takes a walk outside the secretariat complex, one can still see empty bullets on the floor. This ugly incident has again brought to the fore how local government administration can work effectively and efficiently devoid of this avoidable violence. In Obiakpo local government area of River State, I'm Austin Azu.
Meanwhile, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has admonished Rivers people to carry out their political business with all sense of responsibility. He also stated that the business of politics should not degenerate to the level of killings and destruction of government facilities built with taxpayers' money. Governor Fubara made the assertion when he visited the Ekwere Local Government Council Secretariat, Isiokpo, to inspect the level of damage after the council was set ablaze by political thugs.
We're here to see for ourselves the incident that took place in Ekwere Local Government Council. I'm just coming in from Akwa Ibom, where the governors of the South and also the Nigerian Governors Forum went to pay condolence to our brother, the governor of Akwa Ibom, who lost his wife. I just came in, so I said it would be proper for me to assess the situation myself. I feel very sad seeing what had just happened in this council. Must we go low in politics? There was an election on Saturday. The new council chairmen were inaugurated yesterday. We are aware of the boasting that they will not be allowed to access the secretariat. And we were happy early hours of this morning when the Inspector General of Police directed his men to vacate the premises for easy access of the new elected officers to resume office. And immediately they took advantage of that space to destroy government facility. Who is the loser? The new council that is coming in, the fund that will be applied to other things will now be used to fix this place.
In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has called for calm in Rivers State, urging Governor Siminalayi Fubara, political leaders and their supporters to show restraint and respect the law. This follows a rise in tensions after last Saturday's local government council election, with reports of arson and explosions causing alarm. President Tinubu expressed deep concern and urged all political actors to de-escalate the situation, discouraging their supporters from any acts of violence or destruction. The president has directed the police to swiftly restore peace and order in the state. He stressed the importance of protecting public institutions, warning that government facilities funded by taxpayers' money must be safeguarded against vandalism. Well, still on the River State crisis, the Nigerian police force has reiterated its commitment to neutrality and adherence to legal directives concerning the recently concluded local government elections in River State. This comes amidst allegations of partisanship following an order from the Inspector General of Police for the immediate unsealing of all local government council secretariats in the state. Addressing a press briefing in Lagos, the force clarified that its actions were guided by a series of court orders. The Inspector General of Police, who described recent comments from the River State governor as unfounded and detrimental to the credibility of law enforcement, directed the immediate unsealing of the secretariats.
Whatever it is, the IGP has ordered the Commissioner of Police in charge of River State to do deployment, to take charge and make sure it restores normalcy to River State. It is important, it's our constitutional responsibility to make sure we maintain law and order and, of course, protect lives and property. So we don't want to be dragged into the politics in River State. We want to remain professional, we remain impartial, and make sure we discharge our duties as expected of us. It's quite unfortunate that the people, some certain individuals in River State have been attacking the police institution, attacking the security institution in Nigeria, and of course, they are passing up complimentary statements against the person and office of the Inspector General of Police. We want us to be decorum when we are addressing issues like this. We are all interested in having peace in all corners of this country. We all yearn to have peace, to have tranquility and have unity in this country. So we are going to do the needful to make sure that we restore normalcy to Rivers State. We only want to appeal to the people of Rivers State to please always work with the police and other security agencies so that our assignments can be very, very easy for us in that state. We want all of them to maintain peace, to embrace peace. It is for the good of the state, for the good of all of us, and for the good of their country, Nigeria at large.
Well, to further discuss this, I'm being joined by Godswill Jumbo, public affairs analyst and publisher. Christina Reports. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Jumbo. In your opinion, great. In your opinion, what are the underlying causes of the recent political crisis that we see in Rivers State, and how do you think it actually can be resolved?
Okay, the causes, we want to look at the causes. I think it's just about the quests, the desperate and the inordinate quest for political relevance. I think that's the basic issue we're dealing with here. The various actors want to be in the limelight. They want to be counted to be relevant and all of that. And I think political relevance should be edged on the foundation of political value addition, social impact, people empowerment, societal development. I think that's what should be the propelling force for political relevance. You do not achieve political relevance by causing trouble, causing confusion, constituting yourself, you and your supporters, constituting yourself into a nuisance in the polity as we speak. So I think all the actors, especially those who are behind all of this drama, they should look at it. What have you done to improve the lives of the people of Rivers State? What is your contribution to the development of the state? What is that thing that people can refer to on the individual level? I have been impacted. I have been, my life has changed since this person became a governor, since this person became a local government chairman, since this person became a senator. Look at where I was, look at who I was. Now, since he took off a leadership position, now look at what I've become. If I was a responsible young man, I have gone to secondary school, gone to the university, and I'm putting my CV together, trying to look for a job. And then I come across you as a politician, and I now descend from being a decent young man who is looking for legitimate source of income to a thug on the streets, to a miscreant, to a street urchin who has to go about throwing dynamite, wielding cutlass and abusing, insulting people. Has my life been improved in that respect? I think that is what the politicians should look into. And if we want to talk about the solution, I think the solution is about making sure that governance is asserted. Like we have seen on Saturday, the governor made sure the right environment was created for the people of Rivers State to go about and cast their vote. And that has amplified their confidence in their state chief executive. He told them everywhere will be safe, go out and vote. And we saw across the state, all 23 local governments, all 3,866 polling units, people came out to vote. Electoral materials were moved from the state capital to the local government headquarters to the various polling units. None of them was snatched. None of the electoral officials were attacked. That is very significant for us to take note of. You understand? Unlike before, even with police protection, electoral officials were being attacked. Electoral materials were being, intercepted. But in this case, without any security, anything, anywhere, everything went on smoothly. I think that is what we should be looking at. And then we also need to look at emplacing security, entrenching security. The security agencies, I don't think you need any special order. There is a default mandate to maintain law and order. So why would we wake up and we're seeing local council secretaries being set on fire? We are seeing videos of people shooting. Where did they get the weapons? The government, the federal government is doing everything it can to curtail the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. Where are these weapons coming from? Assault rifles, pistols, and all of that in the hands of non-state actors, in the hands of civilian populace. You know, where are they coming from? How did they get there? How did they get into public facilities and being used to cause mayhem? We need to check these things. So can we emplace governance? Can the security agencies do what they are supposed to do? And if we can do that, I am sure a lot of these things. And then we need to look at economic empowerment. And when I say economic empowerment, I don't mean dashing people money. No, that's not how we empower a people. Create the right environment for people to pursue their aspirations, whether it is digital technology, whether it is, you know, petty trading, whether it is haulage, whether it is whatever it is, legitimate, you know, a pursuit of their endeavors. If they can go about their businesses and legitimate income for themselves, I'm sure, you know, there will be less people available to be doing these kind of things we are seeing on national TV, you know.
Okay.
Look at the young people.
Permit me to come in now, Mr. Jumbo.
No, they're jobless.
Mr. Jumbo,
Yes.
let me ask one very, very key question that a lot of Nigerians are asking. President Bola Tinubu asserts that the courts in itself, have the authority to resolve any political dispute, and the result of this election should be no different, all right? However, in previous statements, we did hear a former president, President Jonathan Goodluck Ebele, claim that one of the problems impeding democracy was conflicting court orders issued by courts of concurrent jurisdiction, just as we've seen in the case of River State, where we had one ruling, we also had another one. So if the judges decide everything, my question to you this morning is there any use with elections, is there any use for Nigerians to go ahead and engage in elections if at the end of the day they will still end up going to the courts?
Okay, you know, I will begin by saying that in contemplating, in formulating Nigerian laws, you find, I don't know whether it is a conscious or an unconscious attempt to create loopholes in our laws, you know, that now serve as enablers for some of these judges that people perceive to be corrupt, to now leverage, to now be giving judgments that and court orders that are conflicting, that are unwholesome, that are morally deplorable. I mean, people have a process is being set up to bring development, to entrench progress in the polity. And you, a judge, I mean, do you have honor? You sit and people come to you and they're asking you to give orders that will circumvent progress and development in your own country. And you can give those kind of orders for how much? For how much? These are the things that make people, when people say they lose interest in the judiciary, these are the kind of things. You understand? But I think that the key problem is the lack of judicial governance. Can the leadership of the Nigerian judiciary assert itself? Can these judges know that somebody can ask questions over the kind of judgments they give? I'm not too sure, but I'm sure. I think very recently, one of the former chief justices of Nigeria, was it Aloma or so, one of them, you know, like put all the judges on notice that if you give an order, you give a judgment that is reviewed at the top and found to be less than what it should be, and found to be not consistent with, you know, standard, you know, jurisprudence, that you will be sanctioned. I remember that during that time, a lot of judges were very careful You hardly have anybody giving injunctions, having a stay of execution and all those kind of conflicting judgments. How can a judge know that this court order I'm giving now, another court, of coordinate jurisdiction has given an order with respect to this, and you are giving that same order, which it's ultra vires, it cannot be acted upon, and you still go ahead and give it, and now serve as an enabler for crisis entrepreneurs in the polity. How do you do that? So I think we need to even check. For me, I want to suggest that our judges should go through psychiatric evaluation. We may not know who is all right and who is not. Can the Chief Judge of Nigeria compel all the judges in Nigeria to undergo psychiatric evaluation? Let's even know who is all right and who is not. What is this thing we are doing? Especially in the case of Rivers State, you find on one issue, you could have as many as 5, court orders on the same issue. How? For people who went to law school, who studied law in the university, for some of us who are laymen on the streets, understand these things, and then a judge, in his honor, in his respect, can give this kind of, it begins to erode the confidence of the people in the electoral process.
Mr.
So
Jumbo,
look at what has happened on Saturday.
Absolutely.
People went to vote, and they are confident of the outcome and they are celebrating it.
Mr. Jumbo, I want to say thank you so much. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. We're currently out of time for this conversation. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
All right.
Always a call away. Thank you.
Security chiefs assure safety of lives, property during local government elections in Plateau State will be our next focus, and more stories, but that will be after the break. Do stay with us. And thanks for staying with us. The ROI Youths for Peaceful Coexistence has called on the federal government to disregard the recent local government election in Rivers State, saying it did not meet the minimum requirements for polls in the country. The chairman of the group spoke to newsmen in Abuja, saying that the election conducted by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission was characterized by gross irregularities, legal violations, and a disregard for the Electoral Act of the country. He urged the federal government and the Independent National Electoral Commission to disregard the poll in the interest of peace and stability in the country.
You can't go for an election without beavers. We can't go to an election without police to protect and to make sure that every citizen is protected. There are principles to electioneering, and all of these have been abused by Governor Fubara, which is why we are declaring that election illegal and should not be recognized by INEC and the federal government. Thank you.
Well, still on election matters, heads of security agencies in Plateau State have assured residents of the state that measures have been put in place to ensure adequate security of members of the public before, during, and after the 2024 local government election. The assurance was given during a one-day security meeting between the sister security agencies, representatives of political parties, civil society organizations, media practitioners, religious and traditional leaders. Chizoba Nyongwe is our correspondent in Jos and completes this report.
It is usually said that local council election in every state is the major electoral exercise among others. For people in this school of thought, this is so because they believe that if grassroots politics fails, then getting it right in other higher levels of governance will be challenging. It was on this premise that these security chiefs on the plateau gathered other stakeholders under this roof to brainstorm on salient factors that will ensure security of both lives and property before, during, and after the forthcoming October 9th local council election in the state.
As we are here on this stakeholders meeting, the sensitive materials for the conduct of the election, the distribution will start this evening to various local government areas. And on Wednesday proper, there will be election. as security agencies, and as all the other sister agencies are here, our own is to protect the process. And we are going to do it with all our strength and with your cooperation.
We need you people's support. The district heads that are here, the religious leaders that are here, please, as we all go back home, please let's speak to our people, not to encourage non-Nigerians to come out for this election, because we will not allow them.
A total of 4,989 polling units and 385 ward collation centers have been earmarked as authentic, where the election will hold across the 17 local government areas of the state. For these stakeholders, hearkening to their concerns will further entrench a peaceful election in the state.
The security agents maybe should collaborate with the plaza to allow those that lost their voters' card to use the registers and the polling units so that they will be able to trace their names and their numbers to enable them to vote.
Let us make sure that we manage and we secure and we checkmate the release of results. That is where the problem is.
If you're going to be deploying materials at different local government level today, what is the modality to ensure that these materials are safe and they are not going to be tampered with?
If all the matters discussed here will be carried out to the latter, then one would go to sleep, hoping that the ills of election malpractices, which include hijack of ballot materials, among others, will not be envisaged. In Just for News Central, Chizoba Anyomi.
Nigeria's federal government has been accused of paying lip service to its commitment to ensuring the effective tracking of cargo in and out of the nation's territorial waters. Stakeholders at a policy dialogue in Abuja organized by the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought say the presentation of 2 procurement certificates to 2 different contracting firms is a breach of the nation's procurement laws and proof of government's unseriousness to tackling challenges facing the effective tracking of cargo. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
According to the half-year report of the Nigerian Port Authority, a total of 1,851 vessels visited Nigerian seaport in the first half of 2023, with about 33,895,784 metric tons of cargo, using 707,985 20-foot containers. However, the content of these containers are not being accounted for in terms of the cargoes they carry. Nigeria's federal government, in a bid to solve this problem, awarded a 15-year contract for the development and implementation of the international cargo tracking system for the country, with the aim of enhancing national security, improving port efficiency, and reducing oil theft.
How BPE conducts its certification, because the responsibility the Act gives BPE is that BPE should have the independence to disallow certification of no objection to any contract that fails, either because that contract has been awarded before, therefore not open to award, or that contract is awarded somebody who is not fit and proper, or that contract is awarded the person who doesn't have the least responsive bid. The BPE can say no, issue no objection. If they issue no objection certificate to any contract, it means that they have done background checks. So the question is, how did the BPE issue 2 within a space of less than 1 year or 2 years?
Barely a year after the award of the contract, Nigeria's Federal Executive Council allegedly re-awarded the same cargo tracking contract to another firm despite a previous award, without stating the reason to citizens. This, for many, has raised questions over government's transparency and public accountability.
2 certificates of no objection to 2 different companies over this international cargo tracking node project. Again, a company that has been re-awarded is a company that, from the records from CSC, what reported by this day newspaper a few days ago, has probably no experience compared to the other person, has shareholding that suggests some conflict of interest, and getting involved, the person to be inspected is also part of the inspection team.
You cannot be government and be the people that are creating crisis and confusion of contractual overlap and contradictions in such a way and manner that it will now be costing us resources that we are looking for. How can you have somebody with a PPP arrangement that is to give us 60-40, and then you are now coming around to say you are going to pay for service of $21 million? It doesn't really tidy up.
So I would say let's tread carefully and let's ensure that we comb through this entire process and ensure that we have dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's and ensure that there's no negligence or abuse of contracts and their processes.
The implementation of the federal government international cargo tracking system is an initiative expected to generate approximately $2.3 billion in revenue over the next decade. Many believe, if properly implemented, will play a crucial role in Nigeria's economic recovery. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Many Nigerians say the rising cost of living is limiting access to education beyond the reach of many parents. While many are already considering the option of enrolling their wards in public schools, others may be adding to the number of out-of-school children. However, educators believe subsidizing education should be of utmost priority to the government to make it accessible to all children. News Central's Omolola Ololade tells us more in this report.
Education in Nigeria has become increasingly pricey in recent years, placing an immense financial strain on parents and guardians. From primary to tertiary institutions, both public and private schools have raised their fees, making quality education increasingly unaffordable for many families. Many Nigerians, however, believe education should be free, especially at the primary level.
Personally, I have children as well, so I know how much I cough out this time around to pay for school fees. So, and I'm doing business. What of those that don't do the kind of thing I do? How will they afford to pay that?
The problem is not what student loan. The problem is about reducing the fee or peradventure free education.
The average private primary school tuition fee in Lagos was 110,000 in 2021. It rose to 150,000 in 2022, 180,000 in 2023, and in 2024, parents had to pay 250,000 at the beginning of the new session. Educationists attributed the increase in tuition fees and educational materials to the present economic situation due to the rising inflation and deteriorating value of the naira.
I personally am aware of 5 schools within the Etiosa local government area that have shut down in the last year alone, 5, because they're not able to continue.
As private school operators increase fees for primary and secondary school students by over 300%, more and more Nigerian kids are left to attend public schools, putting financial constraints on this sector as they strive to meet the educational needs of a growing student population. However, the sudden hike in tuition fees for model boarding schools in Lagos was not a welcome development, as it sparked a protest from parents.
The situation of things socioeconomically in the country is not something that most people can bear with at all. It's been rough going for them, and that is why they have taken to the last resort of going public, of even, demonstrating in front of the very school.
Educationists, however, believe the Nigerian government is in a bind on how to continue its long-standing policy of subsidizing education, especially in the face of economic uncertainties and rising prices.
All of basic education should be free. You are subsidizing boarding, okay, fair point. After we are done with basic education and we cannot progress to formal tertiary education, what are we empowered to do? What has basic education empowered us to do, basic and secondary education?
Nigeria has a worrying number of out-of-school children due to escalating education costs, hence the need for increased government financing, particularly for basic education. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
You're watching news now. Coming up next, Tunisia President Kais Saied re-elected with 90.7% of votes. Stay with us to get details on that story and more after this break. Welcome back. Kenya's Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has denied corruption allegations ahead of an impeachment vote that has exposed a deep rift within the governing party. The 59-year-old is accused of corruption, undermining the government, and engaging in ethnically divisive politics, among a host of other charges. Gachagua has dismissed the accusations as outrageous and sheer propaganda, describing them as an attempt to hound him out of office. No formal charges have been brought forward by prosecutors and no judicial inquiry has been initiated. However, Gachagua has repeatedly failed in court bids to halt the impeachment process in Parliament over the past week.
There is nothing here that violates the Constitution. There is no gross misconduct. There is no crime that has been committed. I'm innocent on all these charges. I have no intention whatsoever to resign from this job. I'll fight to the end. I have tremendous respect for our judiciary and the professional judges of the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. And in the professional manner they have handled serious.
And in Tunisia, President Kais Saied has been re-elected in a landslide victory, securing 90.7% of the votes cast. 3 years after Saied's sweeping power grab, rights groups are concerned that his re-election will further consolidate his control over the only democracy to emerge from the 2011 protests. A 66-year-old won with 2.4 million votes, but turnout was only 28.8% of nearly 10 million eligible voters. His imprisoned rival and closest challenger, Ayachi Zamel, came a distant second with just 7.3%. Critics argue that the low turnout reflects widespread disillusionment with the election.
على 2,438,000 السيد قيس سعيد وتحصل على 2,438,954 صوت بنسبة 90.69%. كل مترشح السيد العياشي زمال وتحصل على 197,551 صوت بنسبة 7.35%. السيد زهير المغزاوي وتحصل على 52,000.
Still ahead, Category 5 Hurricane Milton roars towards storm-battered Florida. We have this story after the break. Watch the news now. Hurricane Milton has rapidly intensified into a potentially catastrophic Category 5 storm, heading towards Florida and threatening the U.S. state with a second ferocious hurricane in as many weeks. The back-to-back hurricanes have stirred a political storm in the U.S. election, with Vice President Kamala Harris criticizing her White House rival Donald Trump and Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis for political gamesmanship and for spreading misinformation regarding the federal response. Milton, which is forecast to batter Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula as it moves eastward, has triggered evacuation orders and warnings of severe conditions along Florida's west coast. Communities still reeling from Hurricane Helene, which struck Florida late last month, are racing to clear debris that could become hazardous projectiles as Milton approaches. Republican U.S. presidential nominee Donald Trump claims the Hamas militant attack on Israel on October 7, 2023 would never have occurred if he were president. Trump made this statement while paying tribute to the victims during an event in southern Florida held to mark the first anniversary of the attacks.
The only way we can keep our vow is never again, and it really is to also say never, ever forget. We can never forget. The nightmare of that day still hangs. The horrible legacy of what's taken place, the survivors, the families of the dead, and Jews all over the world. The October 7th attack would never have happened if I was president. I can tell you. The past few years have proven that weakness only begets violence and war, and you see that it's weakness, but it's also, there's a lot of hatred going around also, not just weakness, it's hatred. There's a lot of hatred on a certain side. What is needed more than ever is a return of unwavering American leadership and unquestioned American strength.
U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has made it clear that if elected president, she would not engage in peace talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin without Ukraine's representation. In an interview, Harris emphasized that Ukraine must have a voice in determining its own future. This stance aligns with President Joe Biden's administration's previous rejection of direct talks with Putin. Harris also criticized her Republican rival Donald Trump for his policies on Ukraine, describing them as a surrender to the invasion. Trump has been vocal in his criticism of Washington's aid to Ukraine, claiming he could swiftly broker a peace deal with Putin. However, Harris warns that such a deal would likely involve ceding territory in eastern Ukraine to Russia.
Not bilaterally without Ukraine, no. Ukraine must have a say in the future of Ukraine. Donald Trump, if he were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. He talks about, oh, he can end it on day one. You know what that is? It's about surrender. Those are all issues that we will deal with if and when it arrives at that point.
Nigeria's Flamingos played out a 1-1 draw with Mexico in their first friendly in Santo Domingo ahead of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. Faridat Abdul Karim gave Flamingos the lead in the 33rd minute, while the Mexicans fought back, equalizing 3 minutes before the break. The two teams failed to hit the target in the second half despite creating numerous scoring chances. The Flamingos are expected to play more friendlies as they step up preparations for the World Cup. Coach Bankole Oluokere's side are in Group A with hosts Dominican Republic, Ecuador and New Zealand. They will face New Zealand in their opening game on Wednesday, October 16. Sporting Lagos forward Babatunde Akomolede is set to complete a move to Norwegian side Tromsø FC. According to reports, Akomolede will join Tromsø FC once the transfer details are sorted. Akomolede gained recognition following his outstanding performance at the Gothia Cup in Sweden. He won the most valuable player at the tournament. The young star will follow in the footsteps of Sporting Lagos duo Jonathan Aluku and Christian Nwoke, who recently moved abroad. 4 players, including Thomas Partey and Joseph Paintstill, have actually been ruled out of Ghana's upcoming 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying double-header against Sudan. The Black Stars have been dealt a major blow ahead of the crucial 2025 Africa Cup of Nations double-header against Sudan after Thomas Partey withdrew from the squad. Partey, Joseph Paintstill, Ibrahim Osman and Kingsley Schindler have all been excused from the team for the 2 games this international win. According to the Ghana Football Association statement, Partey will miss out on the game due to medical issues he is currently experiencing, and his club has scheduled him for further tests in the coming days. Ghana faced Sudan in the first meeting on Thursday, October 10, before traveling to Libya for the second encounter on October 15. And that does it for the news this hour. But before we go, a quick look at some of the major stories. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has condemned the attacks on local government facilities. Also brought you news concerning Kenya's embattled Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was dismissed corruption allegations. And in Tunisia, incumbent President Kais Saied secures re-election with 90.7% of the votes. You can watch News Central live 24 hours a day and 7 days in a week by checking out DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, OHP, Limex, Avo TV, and you can stream live on Facebook as well as on YouTube. I'm Joe Hanson, thanking you for joining us. 10 a.m. is the time where the ladies will be here with Jasiri. Stay tuned.